Hello, I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, the capital of northern British Columbia. An absolute beautiful summer day. We have some forest fires around us, north, south, east, but hopefully we get some rain and it kind of will settle down. But there are some challenges in regards to weather and forest fires. But this is otherwise a beautiful, beautiful area with all the lakes around there, animals, wildlife all over the place. So today we have a special guest. Joel Ewert is our guest, and I've known him for quite a while. He's quite an amazing individual, and he's going to tell us all about what he's doing. Joel, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. It's awesome to be here with you, and this beautiful backdrop. I've never been in this building before, and seeing the city from this angle, it looks quite nice.
Yeah, see the new swimming pool behind us.
I know, all fancy.
And then the city council or the city building is there, and it's a very nice location. Prince George, really not all that old. It was incorporated in 1914, I believe, and then starting with very few people, actually about 5,000 to 10,000. Now close to 80, and it has become a center of northern British Columbia, a capital, I call it, not officially, but that's kind of what it is. It's so centrally located, right?
Yeah, and it's nice. You mentioned the wildfires kind of around, but the smoke blew out today just in time for our night podcast, so we get the nice background.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, Joel. Were you born in this region?
Yeah, I was born and raised here in Prince George, and my dad was born and raised here in Prince George, and so a couple generations of Ewerts in Prince George, and so I was born with cerebral palsy here in the hospital. I'm 23 now, so 1999, and I'm still here, and I love it, and I enjoy a lot of the things, and like you mentioned, I enjoy the lakes and all that kind of stuff around.
Now, you were born with cerebral palsy.
Yes.
Tell us what it is.
Yeah, so it's it's something that you're born with. It's a disability of the brain, and for myself, it affects my my sense of balance, my lower body as well as my upper extremities. But my upper extremities are less affected, and but I'm still very lucky, been able to be very independent and be able to do a lot of cool
amazingly
stuff.
independent.
Yeah.
Because we have known each other for a while, and I see your wheelchair here, and we'll talk about that as well as to I see you frequently on an airplane because you are very, very, very active. So when you grew up, you went to school here, and then what happened from there on in?
Yeah, so I went to St. Mary's Elementary and then PGSS for my high school, and kind of throughout my high school, I got more and more into wheelchair sports. Wheelchair basketball and wheelchair rugby were the main two sports, and I had the pleasure of competing in the 2015 Canada Winter Games, and that was a really cool experience because those were here in Prince George, and that was my first one. I was just a young little guy, 15, and really excited to be there, and have the stands filled up at Duchess Park, and seeing everybody from my grandma to my kindergarten teacher in the stands. It was a really cool experience.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, with your cerebral palsy, is there a cure in some form, or what's happening on there are so many things happening on the medical side, and I know you're quite involved, and we'll talk about that as well, but that it's especially of interest to you because of what you're doing and what you're studying. But from the knowledge that you have today, I look around the world and we become all more informed about all the things that are happening around the world. There's so much advancement in a number of areas. The other day I saw something on television where that somebody that could not be, I don't know, where they could not use the lower portion of their body because of an injury they had on the spine, but were able to start walking again or being mobile. Is there anything happening in your field?
Yeah, so I think as far as like medically, hasn't been much advancement with CP and the way that it affects you, but they're kind of, as you alluded to, the advancements of like medical devices and assistive devices are becoming so advanced that the barriers of having a disability are becoming less and less. But there's still lots of work to be done in the accessibility field. But just being able to see the advancements in wheelchairs, now the wheelchairs, the day chairs are much easier to push and get around in, and they're getting lighter so that, they're easier for me to haul in and out of my car and stuff like that. So, well, there may not be medical advances that I know of, at least. I'm not that high up in the world, but the advancements in medical technology are making it a lot easier to be independent.
Yeah, because even in the time, you're still relatively young. You're 32?
23.
Oh, 23. Oh, yeah. My God. Yeah.
I know, yeah.
So, I had the numbers right, just the wrong way around.
Yeah.
So, even in the time that you've been around, the making it access friendly more and more, if it is sidewalks or access to buildings or being much more considered to be normal part of traveling. Like I see you in and out of the airport, it's not a big deal, now for people to get, I'm sure there are still challenges with it, but much easier than it used to be, and it's still moving further forward. Yeah,
you kind of get used to it, and you get kind of your system, especially when it comes to something like travel, and I know what works for me, I know what I have to travel with, but it is cool to see the different advancements coming up, and I'm doing some accessibility work with the university, and because the Accessible Canada Act is coming into Canada in 2040.
What does that mean?
And that's an act that's going to kind of help legislate accessibility into like public spaces and businesses and things like that.
Is that not already in place?
Yeah, no, it's one of those things you kind of would just assume, but that's not already in place. That's coming in 2040, and so even just simple things like having to have an elevator or having to have a ramp into your business, stuff like that. So that's coming in, and I'm doing some work with the university around creating an accessibility plan up there. But
University of Northern British Columbia.
Yes.
That's here in Prince George.
Yeah.
And just for the people that are watching us, actually, and we being watched worldwide, is we are in the province of British Columbia. British Columbia is a big place, about 750 kilometers north of Vancouver, which puts us halfway in the province. We have north from us another 750 kilometers that puts us at the Yukon border, or we can go east to west, which is 1,500 kilometers from Prince Rupert to the Alberta border, be sitting right smack in the middle. And the University of British Columbia, amazing here in Northern British Columbia. It was established about 30 years ago. It is and I know you're studying, they will talk about that too, the best small university in Canada, several years in a row. So, and we collectively are very proud of that for our community.
Yeah, it's really cool to be able to, growing up in a smaller town like Prince George, but still being able to go and get an education that, is going to stack up with kind of anywhere in the world. So it's
at that level,
it's been awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Amazing, and it's for the region, not just for Prince George, located in Prince George because it's central, but it is in the region, just like the College of New Caledonia. It is all kinds of satellite, parts of the college all around us in the communities. Again, it's a big province, but Northern British Columbia is big. So what I find so interesting is that you got into sports right, even when you were in school already. You became proactive in playing handball for one. Right?
Rugby.
Sorry, rugby.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Yeah, so I played basketball.
You run over them with the. I'm just
no, but there is full chair-to-chair contact in rugby. But I started when I was 5 years old. I started to play wheelchair basketball. Got involved through the Harris family, Pat and Nancy Harris, and then
Yeah.
I've been able to kind of continue that. And when I was about 12 or 13, I started to get more competitive with it. And
Yeah.
I grew up in a hockey family, so
Yeah.
it was cool to have a sport to call my own. And I was able to come home with my own stories to talk about with my family and that sort of thing. And then I just kind of kept going and got into the Canada Games program and then discovered rugby, and here we are.
So your family is, your mom and your dad are here?
Yeah.
And-
My mom, dad, and brother are here in Prince
Okay,
George.
so what is your mom's name?
Bonita.
Okay,
Yeah.
and your dad?
Jim Ewert.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and your brother?
Carl.
Carl.
Yeah.
Is he also going to school here or?
Yeah, so he just finished his first year of pharmacy down in Vancouver.
Oh wow.
And so
At UBC?
at UBC.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been awesome to kind of grow up together and kind of grow up in the city and watch it grow and when you live somewhere long enough, you find different ways to love it, and it's been awesome.
Well, you're so much part of the city, and then everybody watches you because of all the things that you have done. You're so proactive in sports and very active in the city. Now, your dad is a pharmacist, right?
Yeah, pharmacist. Yeah.
And your grandfather was a medical doctor?
Yeah, he was a surgeon.
And your grandfather was a surgeon, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole history of medical services of some form or fashion is all being part of your family. And then you're going to University of Northern British Columbia, which has a medical side to it as well.
Yeah.
So what are you taking?
Well, so I finished a degree in BioMedical Studies, and now I'm in the process of a First Nations Studies degree at the university, and my end goal is to get into medicine one day and practice here in the north. So hope to continue that family trend.
Right. So biomedical, what does that mean? What is that?
It's kind of like a pre-med sort of degree.
Okay.
So you get all your basic sciences down, your chemistries and
4-year program.
Organic chemistries. It was a 4-year undergrad program, and it's awesome, and it sets you up to take your next step into the medical field.
Yeah, and you want to go with a specialty in First Nations or?
Well, I don't want to go with a specialty in First Nations. I believe that my degree in First Nations Studies will help me to better serve First Nations patients, especially here in the north, where I think that's a big hole is the education around a lot of the issues going on in Prince George when it comes to Indigenous people. So I think that having that background will help me to really
better understand
it and be more informed and be able to give overall better care.
So how far are you now? You did your biomedical one.
Yeah, and then I have 1 year left in my First Nations Studies.
Then from there and then that brings you into the full medical program?
Yes, yeah.
And how many years would that be?
So the full medical program, I believe, is about 4 years, and then you got your residency and your specialty. No matter which way you slice it, I got a lot of school left. But
you're a young fella.
Yeah, I know.
By the time
I'm 32, according to you. I lost 9 years. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. So the land is it's an amazing area and an amazing region, and where you have all those opportunities, and and you follow the family history right up to your dad, your grandfather, and his father. Yeah. And it's so rewarding, really. Talk a little bit more about you got involved in rugby, and then you got involved in
basketball. Well, I was actually basketball first, and then I got involved in rugby.
Okay, and now if you're competing, when you were competing nationally, that was in...
So I've competed internationally, actually, in both sports.
Yeah, and, rugby and
basketball. Yeah.
Right.
So the big event for me this year was it started in September. I was at men's U23 World Championships for wheelchair basketball.
Where?
In Phuket, Thailand.
Where?
Phuket, Thailand.
Phuket, yeah, I don't know where it is.
Phuket, yeah.
Yeah, my God, what
Yeah.
an experience.
Yeah, that was a really cool experience.
Was that with the Canadian team?
Yes, yeah.
And so everybody on the Canadian team was in a wheelchair?
Yeah, yeah.
How did you guys make out?
We didn't do that well. We kind of snuck into the tournament at the last minute, but we didn't do that well. We finished 11th, and we wanted to finish better.
In the world?
Yeah, 11th in the world, I guess, you know.
I would say.
Yeah, we have some high standards in Canada when it comes to wheelchair basketball, but overall, looking back on it, you know, it's a once in a lifetime fun
What a
experience.
learning experience.
Yeah.
But, so there were groups from all over the world?
Yeah, teams from all over the world. We played teams in France, South Africa.
What an
Japan.
experience.
Yeah, it was really cool. And and then kind of progressing. I competed in my last Canada Games in February, and we were able to win the gold medal in Charlottetown, P.E.I.
Wow.
And that was a really cool experience. And as I mentioned, you know, I competed in the 2015 games along with the 2019 games when I received a grant from Brink actually for the 2019 games, and that was awesome. And we finished 7th in 2015, 6th in 2019. And,
what a record!
And we then we went undefeated and won the gold medal here in 2023. And that's the end of my Canada Games career because you age out in wheelchair basketball kind of after you turn 2023. So it's the end, but it was a great way to end it with a group of people that we'd really been working hard together for 10
and they'd
years.
be friends forever, right?
Yes,
so,
yeah.
And you'd be watching it forever.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
so I remember at one point that I came down with you to give you the award that you're talking
Yes.
about. Was it in 2019?
I think it was just before I left for Red Deer.
Yeah.
So 2019, yeah.
Yeah, and so I had an opportunity to play with you, and I got my own chair. What an experience!
Yeah, you were huffing and puffing out there after a little while, and
Yeah.
but it's good. I think lots of people underestimate just how much of a toll it is on the arms, because you know people come out there and they'll go around like crazy for 3 minutes, and then it's like, okay, I need a water, and it's like, well no, we're playing, keep playing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you know, to throw the ball from that position, you have to have. You know, that's why I was surprised that you were saying that also you have limitations on your upper body as well.
Yeah, it's more in my hands and a little bit in my shoulders for range of motion, but not a lot of muscular issues. It's more range of motion stuff and some spasticity, but yeah, I'm still able to move it around, the chair around pretty quick.
So you adapt to that then with, it's not uncommon with similar people like you.
Yeah, cerebral palsy often affects kind of all four limbs and can affect your hands, but you know, the sports have systems that account for different levels of disability.
Okay.
So for example, in wheelchair basketball at the Canada Games level, you're allowed 15 points on the floor at one time. So you're given a rating based on your functional ability.
For the total of the people playing?
So you're given a rating based on your functional ability
Right.
from 1 to 4.5.
Okay.
1 being kind of the least functional.
Okay.
And 4.5 being the most functional. So that
Okay.
would be somebody who is either a very low amputee, somebody who has basically use of all of their muscles, but they still have some impairment that prevents them from playing stand-up basketball. So together, you have to equal 15 points on the floor at the Canada Games level. So that way, you know, you get a range of disabilities on the floor, because if you wanted to have, you know, you can't just have all 4.5s on the floor. You have to have some ones and twos to balance it out. So it's a really cool system in that way. And rugby has a similar system.
And it works.
Yeah, and it's cool in that way because it balances out, and that way, you know, everybody gets to play no matter how impaired they are in the two sports. So it's really cool that the sports work out that way.
Yeah. So now you said you were aged out for. So if all the time that I see you on a flight, you were going mainly on the Canadian level, or you were competing or getting ready for competition usually?
Yes, yeah. So,
Because you must be traveling or you were traveling all over the country.
yeah, I still do travel a lot, but yeah, a lot of the time it's going to tournaments, because the one thing about parasport is there's not quite as many athletes, so you do have to travel to different tournaments. It's not like if you play baseball in Vancouver, there's so many teams in Vancouver.
Yeah,
you never have to leave Vancouver, but
no, exactly.
When you're playing a disabled sport, there's a limited number of athletes, so you got to travel a little more. And yeah, I've been traveling a lot lately, and actually headed to Birmingham, Alabama on Saturday morning at bright and early 6 a.m. But
what are you doing there?
There's a joint training camp with the Canadian wheelchair rugby team and the American wheelchair rugby team for 7 days.
A lot of times I see you with somebody is with you.
Yeah.
Who is that?
Yeah, my mom likes to travel with me a lot, but
Yeah.
sometimes she doesn't, and I get to go on my own. And there's pros and cons to each one. And but it's cool that I'm fortunate enough. My family likes to travel around and watch me too.
And they are so supportive of you and all the things that this amazing career that you had, for a person with disability, playing on world championships and being all over the world and competing, now going to Birmingham, Alabama. I've never been there, and how long are you going to be there for?
I'm there for 7 days, I believe, and then later at the beginning of August, I'm going to Denmark for 10 days for another tournament.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, never stops, but it's good.
So that's very, very good. And then the next thing is going to happen in September. You're going back to university?
Yeah. I'll continue my degree in First Nation Studies and hopefully get that finished up.
Yeah, for a year.
Yeah.
And then will you then automatically go into the medical program?
No, it's an application process.
Okay.
Actually, you have your application in by September, and then you find out in the following May whether or not you.
So by this September, you have to have your application in for what follows the 1 year that you're doing to go to the full medical program.
Yeah.
I kind of think, what I love about this university here is that it was quite a challenge to get it here. A lot of people in the city, including me, spend a lot of time, all the 16,000 signatures and the $5 for the society, and then fighting to make it a freestanding university, not a subsidiary of another one, with all due respect to the guys down south. But we wanted a freestanding university, and it happened, and now, being at that level, and it's still a very, very good place to go, because it's not like if I go to UBC, SFU, or to BCIT. I did a presentation at BCIT, 40,000 students.
Yeah, crazy.
Can you imagine? I stood in the middle there of the one area, I forget now where the location was. I look around me, I didn't even know where to go.
Yeah.
I had to get people, I'm used to saying, well, it's right there or right here, but...
Yeah, the small class size is something that I love about the university, and it just gives you more of an opportunity to, I feel like you get, because the classes are smaller and more intimate, you get to have more discussions rather than just answering questions, and you get to know your professors better, which can always help with helping to learn the material. So I feel that I couldn't imagine what it'd be like in a classroom with
not like it would be here,
people.
that's for sure. And then what I like about it is that most of the people that finish university here, I sometimes say, I was in a meeting at our operation about 6 months ago, and we had 6 or 7 people around the table. Every single one of them was alumni of the University of Northern British Columbia, including me. I have an honorary doctorate of laws of the University of Northern British Columbia, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, awesome.
And Yeah, that's the good part about it. And then the same applies to the College of New Caledonia. They have done a fantastic job as well.
Yeah.
I've been promoting already with lots of other people to get a center of excellence here where we create skills training to attract industry that can either mining, forest, or whatever industry, but the skill set's so hard to get right now, Joel, here, and rather than investing in these major universities down south, not long ago, they invested another $250 million into BCIT to add to BCIT, and I have no particular problems with that.
Yeah.
But some of the major companies donated together $2.5 million to make that happen, and I want it here. And I got a building named after me, the John A. Brink Trades and Convention Center. I've also donated already, or committed to donate $1 million towards the Center of Excellence 4 or 5 years ago, but it's still not happening.
Yeah.
And it has to happen here, because here is where 80% of the gross domestic product of the province of British Columbia comes from northern BC, and we should invest in schooling and universities, colleges, and the Center of Excellence. The mini BCIT of northern British Columbia is extremely important.
Well, yeah, I think kind of, as we alluded to earlier, there's so many things to do kind of around Prince George, and I think, when people are trained up here, they if they spent their whole time down south, they just think, oh, Prince George. But if you come up here and you get to see the unique things that Prince George has to offer, like all the hiking trails around and the smaller community feel, it's not something you can feel until you actually live here. So if they create centers where they can get trained here, people can really understand.
And would stay here.
And would stay, which is the main part.
Yeah, because especially after the COVID-19, why would you want to live in? I was there yesterday. Actually, I came back nearly at the late flight. I got an early flight. I was lucky, but then I don't want to be there. There's just too many people, too many cars, and all the concrete buildings. We have to be there sometimes, but how can you look around here? The weather, we got 4 seasons, and the winter sometimes a bit of a challenge, but still, I like the 4 seasons. And then all around us here, within 50 kilometers, we probably got 100 lakes.
Yeah.
And this morning I saw a couple of foxes running around the mill area, which is 3, 4 blocks, 5 blocks away from here. You got caribou, you got black bears, the odd grizzly here and there, but it's amazing the nature all around us.
Yeah, we have a family cabin out at Ness Lake, and I was actually there this morning. Slept over last night. Went for a fish this morning, and then came in to see you. So I don't think people understand just how special that is, and even me, for me, that's just kind of been part of my childhood, is being able to have access to a lake, 20 minutes, half an hour away, and just drive back into town. But for people living in those bigger cities, they have to go so much further to experience these things that are kind of right at our doorstep. Yeah,
and then not only that, but a lot of people there, real estate extremely expensive there. And then as I fly in, and as you do, fly into Vancouver, I kind of like to sit by the window, kind of look outside, and I see the traffic saying this starts at 7 o'clock in the morning, continues till 9 o'clock, and then it already starts at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's just totally plugged up, and some people spend an hour and a half each way to go to work. Really?
Yeah. Meanwhile, here I'm upset if it takes me 15 minutes to get somewhere.
Exactly. And for me, it takes me, depending if the ride is red by the bridge, but it takes me either 5 minutes to go home or maybe 6.
Yeah.
So
worst case scenario, 6, right?
Yeah.
God forbid 6.
Yeah. And it doesn't get any better.
Yeah.
So as you look forward, what does it look like for you going forward? Obviously, you have, in my opinion, had which is so important. You had a plan, you have accept the way you are, and obviously have reconciled with that and saying, okay, where do I go from here? You have the family tradition behind you directly relating to the medical system and being proud of it, and then having the university here, becoming a medical doctor at some point, likely around the time that you're 30, still a very, very young fella, and then building a career in northern British Columbia, the most beautiful place in the world.
Yes.
That's what I was born in Holland. You know, Holland is a small country. You go to Denmark, you will fly right by it. Have you been in Holland yet?
No, I have not. I
Holland,
haven't been to much of Europe yet, but
yeah,
it's on the bucket list.
When are you going to Denmark?
August, the beginning of August. So August.
This
1st. August 1st, I think.
A couple of months from now.
Yeah.
Okay. So so Holland is here, you know. So and then the sea is a northern part of Holland is where the sea goes into Germany, Hamburg, Hemden, and then just north of that is Denmark. And so I was born in the extreme northeastern part of Holland, and a little town about 20 minutes away from the German border, and then about 10 minutes away from the sea between us and Denmark if I look straight north. So and everything is fairly small there compared to where we are, you know, like Holland's relatively small. That used to be, when I grew up, that people stay all pretty much in the same areas. Lots of history, lots of generations have been there, and if somebody would, out of my province, if somebody would go to 50 kilometers away, they say, well, he is moving or she is moving 50 kilometers away. They say, oh my God, we'll never see them again. Oh, how could they possibly do? You know, but we think nothing of that. You know, when I came here and saying, oh, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm going to go to Vancouver, come back on Monday.
Yeah, a 6-hour drive's a close drive here, right?
Yeah.
That's it's like that's a 3-day drive in Holland.
Yeah. So it makes that difference, and then you know, but it has its interesting parts again. I was born in 1940, and I was 5, and we were liberated by the Canadian Army, April the 12th, 1945. And it made such and I was born in the extreme northeastern part. Things were pretty rough there. And my dad was in the Dutch Army and was drafted April 1940. And the last time they heard from him is he was caught in Rotterdam during the bombing. And the Germans bombed the whole. It's about 1 million people in Rotterdam, I think, something along those lines. But they bombed the whole center. That's the last time that they heard from him. They didn't know if he was dead or alive. My mom had 3 kids. I was born in November. My sister was 1 year older, my brother 2 years older. And they had a rough time going through the war, you know. Yeah. And everybody was trying to survive. And when I was 5 years old, the winter, November 1944, you know, was the hunger winter in Holland. Yeah. A lot of kids died, a lot of older people, vulnerable people died, and we used to, every morning, we would go out with gunny sacks into the railroad, pick up anything we could find burnable or edible. And the Germans wouldn't shoot us, but they would boot us one, and we'd be back the following morning. And but it was a very, very tough go for a lot of people. We were liberated then April the 12th by 1945 by the Canadians. It made such an impression on me that I always knew from that point forward I would go to Canada. There was no question about that.
Yeah, awesome.
And it took me till I was 24 before I came here. And then the other part to me that was important is that, somewhat similar to you, my grandfather was a master carpenter, was very good at it, did a lot of, you know, the work on churches and all that amazing furniture, but he died when he was 43, and I never knew him, but I knew him through the work that he did. And my dad managed a small lumber company, And I always knew I would go into the lumbar in some form. I was not very successful in school. I failed grade 3. Nobody fails grade 3,
No.
really.
Yeah.
I did. Actually, I had a guest the other day. I was giving a presentation at a place, and I forget how many people were there. And this lady says, I did fail. I said, okay, there's the two of us then. You know, so, and then I failed grade 7 3 times. And, you know, so it was a bit of a challenge for me. And, you know, and I kind of felt that I had failed in a way. So, but I still had a dream of building a lumber company at some point and go to Canada. So then I was drafted into the Dutch Air Force for 2 years, Special Forces actually, and I wanted to be a pilot, but they made me Air Force Police Special Forces. I did that, it was a good experience for 2 years, and then when I was 24, 1 year older than you, I went to Canada with my suitcase, one set of clothes, 3 books, and you know,
not your own books at the time.
No,
different
not,
books.
not them.
Yeah.
I had I couldn't speak the language. I didn't have a job, and I didn't know a soul. And I came to Vancouver, went to the immigration department. Fortunately, there was a German fellow. I told him what I wanted to do. I wanted to build a lumber mill. He said, Prince George, 1965, about 3 blocks away from here, and is the old Greyhound station. And I came off the bus, and I had exactly $25.47. But what I did have, and so do you, attitude, passion, work ethic, but follows success. And, you know, so then I started working and became a lumber pilot and cleanup man and did all those kind of things. And then I started the company that I have today, the Brink Forest Products, and then the Brink Group. I started that in July of 1975. And all the challenges looking back, I always felt I had to talk about it. And, you know, and so, and I thought about writing a book as I went through it. I started out with 3 employees and then slowly build it up. So now, if all things are normal, we employ about 400 people. You know, we have 3 major companies. The one is lumber, the other one's warehousing and logistics, the other one is real estate, and then we have another 4 or 5 other companies. But I already started working on writing a book quite a number of years ago. Not so much about hurrah, hurrah, John, but more about the challenges along the way. And, you know, I started with it and then didn't finish it and then started again. And then I knew about 3 years ago, if I didn't know it now, it would never happen.
You can't keep delaying and delaying.
So I wrote this one, against all odds. And as I said, it's not hurrah, hurrah, John, about success and all, but falling down, starting over, falling down, starting, and never giving up, you know, and in spite of no matter what, but I always will go forward. I will never give up. So this one, it took me 80 years to live it, 20 years to think about it, 2 years to write it. So I'm going to give you one of these, and I'll sign it before, you know, let me see, and then I'm going to give it to you right now, to Joe. And then I wrote another book, and I'm going to share that with you. And you may say, "Oh my God, what is that one then?" You know, so this is the one. And then I wrote another one, and this one is that, you know, when I was 57, I walked into the store on 4th Avenue. We have a store here. Books on 4th, Books and Company, they call it now. Yep. And I went into the store and I opened this book, Driven to Distraction. And I thought, I don't know why I went there, and I still don't know why. I looked at it and I started reading about ADHD, and I said, oh my God, that's me. And I was ashamed of it because it implies you have a mental defect of some sort. So I wrote in it in Dutch. Now I finally know who I am. And it took me then 5 years before I even would talk to my doctor about it, there was a friend of the family, delivered my two daughters, and I came into his office, and he said, "Why are you here, John?" I said, "I think I got ADHD." So we looked at it together, and I am ADHD, and so. But then it took me quite a while before I even started talking about it, because there is this stigma attached to it. Then, less so now. Then, in May the 31st, 2019, when was a special day for me. Actually, I got the honorary doctorates of laws degree from the University of Northern British Columbia, and the the special award from the British Columbia, from the government of British Columbia, and and I started talking about those kind of issues, the war years, the PTSD. Saw far too much that we should not have seen, which affects you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I think that's a big part, is embracing your disability, and the way I do too. Like, people are always wondering, like, oh, like, are you okay if I ask? And it's like, yes, I'm very.
Yeah.
And for people it's different, and there's going to be different journeys about how they're going to embrace their disability. But for me, it's something that I feel comfortable with, and I've been able to really use. My disability has given me so many opportunities in sports, and it's made me very proud, and so I have no problem discussing it and embracing it, and I think that's the first step for so many people. But I think it all starts with just getting out there and getting into the community, and realizing that even if you have a disability, you're not alone, because there's so many others.
And being an inspiration,
Yes.
Joel, to others that that have disabilities, whatever they may be, and there are so many of them that are struggling with things, and and I felt that I had to talk about it. That's why I wrote this book, ADHD Unlocked, very popular actually. And what I found is that the frequency of occurrence of ADHD much higher than most people even thought of it was before. There is virtually not a day that I go by that I don't meet somebody that says, "That's me," or my son, my daughter, or somebody in my family.
Well, how many years were you walking around with it, you said, before you...
From the day I was born.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Crazy.
And I didn't know it really until I picked up that book 57 years ago, in January of 19. I was 57. 97. Yeah. January 97, and I picked up the book. I wrote it in the date and everything, and and then talking about it, like yesterday, I was in a meeting in Vancouver, and quite a few people there, and then some people know about my book. I talked to at least 2 or 3 people that said, yeah, they have it as well, or their family has it, or somebody in it. So what I say to other people in a general way, that ADHD will be, you cannot avoid not to being touched by it, because either individuals themselves, or their children, their family members, or their friends, or the area that the working area they are in, to understand it, because ADHD individuals are a little bit different. They are hyper-focused usually. They are not very good at paying attention unless it is hyper-focused usually. But I call it a superpower.
Yeah.
And that's what. I'm gonna give you a copy of that book as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all about, and obviously it takes people different. In different capacities to come to terms with their disability, but I think that once you do come to terms and you become more comfortable with it, it's
And
it's about it's showing others, like it's okay to be, it's okay to have a disability, it's okay to be different, quote unquote, in society, and I think you're a great example.
But what you have achieved and you're only halfway there. You're not even started yet, and you're laying the foundation for an amazing medical career and all the other things that you have done before. You're an example to people that sometimes believe that because of this, that, and the other thing, they can never accomplish, what they would like to be. And I said, no. Don't say that, go the other way. The other book that's coming out actually in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, is being printed as we speak, is Finding Your Passion, Living the Dream. And so what I'm saying is find something that you like to do. You're an example of that because your family background in the medical community and through your dad as a pharmacist, or your medical doctors or the surgeons in your family, you will have a career then as well. And then because of having made what other people would consider to be a handicap, you made it an asset. And saying that you can not only be as active as others, but go further beyond that in terms of becoming a world champion in many different ways, which is absolutely totally amazing.
Yeah, and I think too, like it's important to, you talked about trying to be an inspiration for others. There's people that inspired me growing up too. Bo Hedges, he's a wheelchair basketball athlete, and he kind of showed me, and he's from north of Fort St. John and Wannawan, BC, but he's from a very small northern community, and I got to see him kind of. He had a spinal cord injury, and then has been able to make the wheelchair basketball national team, and he's been to multiple Paralympics. So I also want to be in the Paralympics one day. That's one of the goals of mine, and just to see people like that who inspire you, and he's actually in Dubai right now at the World Championships, and just
amazing.
But I talk about it so much, you don't even really notice how much you're inspiring people, and he probably didn't even know when he was playing growing up that I was sitting at home being like, oh, that's awesome, right?
That, and that is the most rewarding part of you, of becoming an inspiration to others. That's what I'm doing with my life in terms of having a career, successful career, in spite of it or because of it. I couldn't have done it without being a superpower, as I call it in ADHD. Yeah. Look at Terry Fox. Look at
Rick Hansen. Yeah.
Yeah, Rick Hansen. What examples are they? The unbelievable what they have accomplished, and then you is in that group, in my opinion, and that's where you're going, and to become an example to others. And for me, it took me a long time until. I'm 82 and a half years young, and that's how I call it now. So but I'm still I'm the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America, and I'm getting ready for competition. And at one point in 2019, at 9 years old, was qualifying for the national competing bodybuilding nationally, as well as for the Arnolds. Yeah. Everything is possible.
Yeah.
And and that makes it special. The other book, I'm going to get you a copy of that as well, Finding Your Passion, Living the Dream, and because that's an example of what you do, and hopefully it will be an inspiration to others. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
So that in being said, so I'm, we'll stay in touch, and and then see you virtually graduate further through your career and becoming an inspiration to others, and hopefully next year or so have another discussion once you get to the end and getting ready for the medical school.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the support and the exposure. It's been awesome.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Nice having you.
Good having you too. Thanks.
Yeah.